Welcome to This Day in His Story, created by American Heritage Worldwide, a reminder that every day holds something new to learn. Did you know that at the age of 16, Walt Disney drove an ambulance for the American Red Cross in France and Germany during World War I? Join us as we learn about Walt's creative life, first as a cartoonist for his high school newspaper, as the original voice of Mickey Mouse, then to film producer, creator of animated characters, and developer of Disneyland, the most popular theme park in the world.
Today, we are taking on a name you just instantly connect with American culture, with innovation. Walt Disney. We're talking about the man, the visionary, the person who gave us characters like Mickey Mouse they basically defined the 20th century.
They really did.
But if you're here with us, we're not just doing the standard biography. Our mission is to really dig into the source material to get past the familiar stories and focus on the surprising facts.
The foundational stuff.
Exactly. The early career detours and, more importantly, the technical and economic decisions that built this thing into a global phenomenon.
And you have to start with the sheer scale of that achievement, right? Because it really confirms his status as a pioneer.
Oh, absolutely.
Walt Disney got 26 Academy Awards in his lifetime. 26. That's a record. And it just speaks volumes about his influence on animation, on film production itself.
It's incredible.
And the sources give us this great look at that duality. You have the ambitious man and then the meticulous technical creation of the icon.
That's it. We're going from a young guy driving an ambulance in World War I, which is a wild story in itself, all the way to the economic reasons why Mickey Mouse has 4 fingers.
It's all about hustle, big risks, and just a relentless eye for efficiency.
Okay, let's unpack this crucial foundation.
Let's do it.
So his origins, he was born December 5, 1901 in Chicago. But what the sources really stress is that his character, that drive we all know, was forged really early on.
Yeah, it wasn't something he developed later. He had this intense work ethic from the start, from delivering papers and, working with his father.
And art was always his escape, his passion. Even as a kid, just drawing with crayons, painting with watercolors.
And that passion wasn't just a hobby. It actually became his focused career path.
Right.
He was the cartoonist for his high school newspaper, but he didn't stop there. He signed up for a correspondence school just for cartooning and took art classes at the Kansas City Art Institute.
And his initial goal was pretty practical, wasn't it?
Very practical. He just wanted to be a newspaper cartoonist. He was really driven by, just making a living with his art.
But before he could really dive into that,
Yeah.
his timeline takes this sharp, unexpected turn. This is where you really see his resourcefulness. I'm talking about his WWI service.
At 16, it's hard to even imagine.
At 16 years old, he manages to get a job driving an ambulance in France and Germany for the American Red Cross.
It's an unbelievable story for a teenager. And when he came back from the war, that mix of art and practicality really came back into focus.
How so?
He took jobs as a draftsman, an inker, working in commercial art studios. That technical, hands-on background led him right to his first real business venture in 1922.
The Laugh-O-Grams.
The Laugh-O-Grams. He got his hands on a secondhand movie camera and just started making these 1 or 2 minute animated sketches.
And what's so fascinating there is how quickly he started experimenting, trying to push beyond just standard animation. The sources point to this early pilot film he made. It was for a 7-minute series called Alice in Cartoonland, and it was groundbreaking because it mixed live action with animation.
And you have to think about that in the 1920s. Combining live action and animation was a huge technical headache.
Right. What would that even involve?
They were probably using early techniques like double exposure, maybe even a primitive form of rotoscoping where you're tracing over film frame by frame. He wasn't just drawing, he was actively merging film tech with his art.
And that kind of ambition, it just outgrew Kansas City pretty fast.
It did. So in 1923, he makes the big move all the way to California, specifically to get into cinematography.
And that move wasn't just about location. It was about building the business. He partners with his brother, Roy, who becomes this lifelong financial backbone.
That partnership is so critical, you can't overstate it. Without Roy, there might not be a Disney empire at all. Walt was the creative genius, but Roy handled the money.
He secured the loans, managed the books.
Exactly. And that let Walt focus purely on innovation.
And right after that move, he reconnects with the artist Ub Iwerks. They start working closely, And in 1927, they create the character that came right before Mickey.
Oswald the Lucky Rabbit.
Oswald.
And Oswald is, well, he's a great case study in early animation because he had this very surreal kind of rubber hose style.
What do you mean?
The sources say his signature trait was that he could just disassemble his own body parts and reshape them however he wanted. It was visually wild, but probably a nightmare to animate consistently. He first showed up in a short called Trolley Troubles.
But the surprising thing is, even though Oswald was popular, he basically vanished.
Yeah, he only appeared in a few shorts through 1938, and this is the key business lesson here.
He lost the rights.
Disney lost the rights to the character because of some messy contract issues. Losing your first successful creation like that?
Well, it was a massive lesson.
A lesson in intellectual property.
And that failure, that loss,
Yeah.
directly influenced how fiercely he protected Mickey Mouse later on. It was a crucible that formed the company's entire strategy. So during that same period, 1927, the creative response comes out.
The replacement. Walt and Iwerks create this cheerful, energetic, a little bit mischievous mouse. And Iwerks also quickly sketches out Minnie to be his girlfriend.
Which brings us to one of the most famous bits of Disney lore. And it's all about commercial appeal. The name.
He wasn't always Mickey?
No. He was almost named Mortimer Mouse.
Mortimer. It sounds so stiff, so formal.
That's what Walt thought. And it was his wife, Lillian, who suggested the name Mickey Mouse.
It was friendly, it was fun, and, well, it was a smash hit.
And that one small decision leads to this huge moment in film history. Mickey and Minnie, they share the same birthday, November 18th, 1928.
Which is the debut of Steamboat Willie.
Their debut in that 8-minute feature, and it was a massive success.
But Steamboat Willie wasn't just a hit because the characters were cute. This was a technical revolution. This is where Walt used Mickey to introduce synchronized sound into cartoons.
And let's be really clear about what that means. It's not just adding music.
This was about aligning every single sound effect, every musical note, and eventually every word perfectly with the movements on screen.
That is the pivotal technical achievement. Before this, you might have had a live orchestra in the theater, but this was different.
Completely. Synchronizing sound meant painstakingly lining up the audio track with the film cells. It was incredibly laborious, especially for a small studio. Steamboat Willie proved it could be done, and it changed the game overnight.
And you see them tying the characters to the culture, too. Especially Minnie. Her full name, which you never hear, is actually Minerva Mouse. Minerva. But more importantly, her design was meant to look like a 1920s flapper girl. That was the height of fashion for young audiences. The dress, the patch knickers, the stockings, they were aiming for mass appeal by being modern.
And if you look at how they produced this, what's so interesting is how hands-on Walt stayed. He knew Mickey's voice was everything, so he just did it himself. Walt Disney was the original voice of Mickey Mouse all the way until 1947.
And speaking of the voice, even with synchronized sound, Mickey didn't talk right away.
No, it took another year.
It wasn't until 1929 in a short called The Carnival Kid. And his first words were,
Hot dog, hot dog.
while selling hot dogs at a carnival where Minnie was a dancer. It's perfect.
It's a great piece of trivia.
So now let's get to the technical detail everyone always asks about. The 4 fingers. Why only 4?
This is a classic example of economics driving art.
Okay.
According to Disney's first biographer, the simple reason was, quote, 5 fingers seemed like too much on such a little figure.
So, an aesthetic choice.
Partly, but the deeper, unstated reason was pure efficiency. It was about cost.
Right.
Think about it. Animating 5 fingers on every hand for every single frame adds a ton of complexity and time. Cutting 1 finger saved them about 25% of the labor cost for animating the hands.
Wow. In a studio that's just trying to survive, that's a massive financial decision.
Exactly. It's a business decision disguised as a simple design choice. It let them produce more animation faster.
And that design kept evolving. For the movie Fantasia, Mickey got a pretty big redesign, right?
He did. They gave him a bigger head and a more pear-shaped body. The idea was to make him look a bit more sophisticated for the high art feel of that film.
And there's this other detail that just feels so Disney. The voice actors who eventually took over these roles.
Oh, this is a wonderful story.
The actor who voiced Mickey from 1977 to 2009, and the actress who voiced Minnie from 1986 to 2019.
They were married in real life. It just shows how deeply personal the whole creative family was.
So if we pull back to the big picture, the incredible popularity of Mickey and Minnie, That became the foundation for everything else.
The financial and creative foundation, absolutely. Their success is what allowed them to create the whole expanded universe. Donald Duck, Pluto, Goofy, they all came next.
And this was all happening during the Great Depression, one of the worst economic times in American history.
And Disney showed how powerful relevant storytelling could be. He made that 9-minute color short, The Three Little Pigs.
Which is all about working hard and building a strong brick house to survive.
Precisely. And that message resonated so powerfully with a country that was struggling. It became one of the most successful animated shorts of all time. It proved animation could be, profound cultural commentary.
And that kind of determination to tell a story he believed in, you see it for decades. I mean, look at the fight to adapt Mary Poppins.
20 years.
He promised his daughters he would make that movie. But it took him 20 years to convince the author, P.L. Travers, to sell him the screen rights.
Yeah.
The film finally came out in 1964. It's just a testament to his tenacity.
And the movies were only half the dream. The other ambition was to build a physical place for these characters to live, an amusement park.
Disneyland.
Which opened on July 17th, 1955 in Anaheim.
And this connects right back to his childhood, doesn't it? The design of the park itself.
It does. The sources note that the model for Disneyland's Main Street was the small town in Missouri where Walt grew up. He literally built his own idealized history into the park for every visitor to walk through.
That's incredible.
And this colossal impact, it was recognized at the highest level. In 1964, President Lyndon B. Johnson awarded Walt Disney the Medal of Freedom.
And Johnson's words were powerful. He praised Disney for having, quote, created an American folklore.
A powerful statement. And you should know, even before his death, in December of '66, Walt was already planning the next, even bigger phase. He had started building Walt Disney World in Florida.
So let's boil this all down for you, the listener. What are the key takeaways? Disney's success wasn't just magic. It was built on this aggressive mix of art and very strict economic thinking.
And sheer tenacity. You see it in the 20-year fight for Mary Poppins. You see it in bouncing back after losing Oswald.
And most importantly, I think it was built on technical adaptation.
Yes. From blending live action and animation in the Alice shorts to the bold, risky investment in synchronized sound for Steamboat Willie.
And even the decision to use 4 fingers instead of 5, that was, at its core, an early form of optimizing your budget and your labor.
It was, and the legacy is still being honored. John Hench was the official portrait artist for Mickey for 65 years. He painted him for his 25th, 50th, 60th, and 75th birthdays.
And Mickey was so ingrained in the culture that he became the first cartoon character to ever get a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame way back in 1976.
So that brings us to a final thought for you to chew on.
Okay.
The sources are really clear that Mickey and Minnie were designed to appeal to adults, not just kids. They had human speech, human skills, and Minnie's design even mirrored contemporary fashion.
So, with that in mind,
Yeah.
given that strategy of creating characters that reflect us, but are also fundamentally simplified, they only have 4 fingers, what does that tell us about the power of simplification in art? What is it about our need to see ourselves in these animated characters that lets us connect so deeply with figures whose design was, let's be honest, driven as much by a quarter-saving efficiency calculation as it was by art?
It's a great question.
Something to think about the next time you see one of those classic Disney shorts.
Thank you for joining us for this day in his story. May the lessons of yesterday inspire you to see God's hand today and to play your part in his story now. For more faith-based learning, visit ahsworldwide.org, the home school for faith and family.